Emma had always loved drawing, but she never thought anyone would notice, especially her father, Daniel, who was usually busy with work and rarely had time for her little hobbies. One evening, she sat in her small room, sketchbook on her lap, pencils scattered around her like a storm of colors, when Daniel quietly appeared in the doorway, leaning against the frame with his usual calm expression. "What are you working on?" he asked, his voice soft but curious. Emma looked up, startled. "Just some sketches," she mumbled, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. She had never shown her father her drawings before, always fearing he wouldn't understand, but tonight felt different, like something was about to change. Daniel stepped into the room, glancing at the pages she held tightly to her chest, and when he finally saw the drawings, his eyes widened in a way that made Emma's heart skip. He didn't say anything at first, just studied her lines, her shadows, the way she captured emotions with such ease. "Emma," he whispered, almost like he couldn't believe what he was seeing, this is incredible." Emma felt a rush of pride and fear at the same time. "You really think so?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Her father nodded slowly, his usual reserved demeanor replaced with an excitement she had never seen in him. From that night on, their evenings changed. Instead of the usual quiet dinners or TV shows, Daniel would sit beside her at the small wooden table in her room, offering tips, ideas, and encouragement. He didn't take over or force her hand, he guided, pointing out small details, showing her new techniques, helping her see possibilities she hadn't imagined. Emma found herself drawing faster, her imagination flowing freely under his careful guidance. Each stroke of her pencil felt more alive, more meaningful. She could feel the connection growing, a shared secret between them that was exciting and comforting at the same time. But Daniel was careful, almost too careful. He would always remind her not to show her sketches to anyone else yet, not your friends, not school, not even me outside of this room, he said, leaning close with a serious look. "The world isn't ready for this talent, not yet." Emma tried to understand, tried to trust him, because he had always been her rock, her safe place, but sometimes his words felt heavy, as if the joy of drawing was mixed with rules she didn't fully understand. One night, Emma stayed up late, sketching a portrait of the sunset she had seen that afternoon. Her hands moved fast, eager to capture the colors, the light, the feeling of the day fading away. Daniel sat behind her, quietly watching, offering small advice. "Try to let your lines breathe. Don't be afraid to make mistakes," he said, his voice gentle, and Emma nodded, feeling both pressure and encouragement. She realized that this secret time together had become the most important part of her day. The only space where she felt truly seen. But even as she enjoyed it, a tiny worry crept in, a whisper at the back of her mind. What if someone found out? What if she wasn't really as good as he said? She pushed the thought away, focusing on the pencil gliding across the paper, trying to capture the feeling of the moment. Her father's eyes never left the sketchbook, following her every line, and sometimes she caught him smiling softly, almost as if he was proud in a way that went beyond words. It made her heart beat faster, a mix of happiness and confusion that she couldn't quite name. The next few weeks became a blur of evenings spent drawing, Daniel giving her new challenges, encouraging her to try styles she had never dared attempt before. He asked her to paint emotions instead of just pictures, to capture moments instead of objects, and Emma found herself opening a side of creativity she didn't know existed. The thrill of creating something new, something that felt like it belonged to her alone, was intoxicating. Then came the first real test. Daniel asked her to draw something personal, something that showed her true feelings. Emma hesitated, unsure if she wanted to reveal that side of herself, but his look, patient and expectant, encouraged her to try. She picked up her pencil, took a deep breath, and started drawing her happiest memory from the summer. Her father watched quietly, never interrupting, letting her fill the page with every little detail, the warmth of the sun, the sound of laughter, the smell of fresh grass. When she finally looked up, Daniel's eyes were shining, his usual composure gone. "Emma, you've outdone yourself," he said, voice thick with emotion. This is more than talent. It's magic." Emma felt a thrill she had never felt before, her chest tightened with excitement and a little fear. She wanted to show everyone, but Daniel gently stopped her. "Not yet," he said, "this gift, it's ours for now, just ours." She nodded reluctantly, trusting him, believing that he knew best, though part of her wished she could share her joy with the world. That night, as she went to bed, she clutched her sketchbook tightly, heart racing with the possibilities that Daniel had opened for her. She felt alive in a way she had never felt, a secret world of creativity and recognition. But deep down, a small voice whispered a question she didn't want to think about yet, a question that would soon grow louder, threatening to disrupt the careful balance they had created. For now, though, she pushed it away, closing her eyes with her sketches by her side, dreaming of lines and colors and the father who believed in her more than anyone else, unaware that secrets, no matter how carefully guarded, have a way of slipping into the light, and that the next discovery could change everything. At first, Daniel's encouragement had felt like freedom, but over time, Emma began to notice a change. What had been soft guidance slowly turned into constant direction. He told her what to draw, how to draw it, even which emotions to show on paper. "Try harder. This isn't good enough," he said one evening, his voice firmer than usual. Emma hesitated, confused, wondering if she was disappointing him. Something that had once felt like play now felt like a test she could never pass. She tried to draw freely, but every line seemed to carry his judgment, and her heart sank with the pressure. Her room, once a sanctuary of creativity, now felt tight and heavy. Daniel hovered more, leaning over her shoulder, suggesting details she didn't want to include. "No, that's not right. Make the eyes like this, the smile like that," he instructed, as if her own instincts weren't enough. Emma nodded quietly, forcing herself to follow his guidance, but inside, she felt a growing tension, a small, nagging resentment that she didn't understand. One afternoon, Claire, her mother, came home early from work and decided to tidy Daniel's study. She didn't expect to find anything unusual, but when she opened a folder labeled Emma's art projects, she froze. Her heart dropped as she saw dozens of Emma's drawings, sketches, and finished pieces, each carefully stored and signed with a different name. Her eyes widened in disbelief, and she couldn't hide the shock in her voice. "Daniel, what is this?" she asked, holding up one of the sketches. Daniel froze, a flicker of something unreadable crossing his face. "It's nothing," he muttered, but the hesitation betrayed him. Claire's hands trembled as she looked closer, realizing he had been submitting Emma's work to competitions, posting them online, even selling them quietly, all without telling Emma. Worse still, it was clear he had been taking the credit himself. You've been doing this without her knowing?" Claire asked, voice rising, eyes filled with hurt. Daniel tried to explain, saying he only wanted to help, only wanted to protect her talent, but the words fell flat, and the truth was undeniable. Emma, who had been in the next room, heard raised voices and hurried in, curiosity turning into fear as she saw the folder and the serious look on her parents' faces. "What's happening?" she asked softly, her hands clutching the edge of the doorframe. Claire looked at her with concern. "Emma, your drawings. Daniel has been sharing them without telling you," she said gently. Emma's stomach dropped, her mind raced as she tried to understand. Daniel's gaze met hers, but there was no comfort there, only a strange mixture of pride and control. Her chest tightened, the betrayal cutting sharper than she expected. You did this?" she asked, barely able to speak. Daniel stepped forward, trying to explain. "I was protecting you, making sure your talent was seen. I thought I was helping," but Emma felt a wave of anger, disappointment, and confusion crash over her. What she had treasured as a shared secret, something intimate between her and her father, had been used without her consent. Her trust felt broken, her passion suddenly tainted. In the following days, the house felt different, heavy with tension. Daniel kept trying to justify his actions, insisting he only wanted the best for her. Emma found herself avoiding him, her sketchbook left untouched, the magic that had filled her evenings with joy now felt distant, almost unreachable. Each time she glanced at her pencils or her pages, she felt the sting of betrayal, and a quiet anger that she didn't fully understand. Claire became her refuge, the one person who understood, who reminded her that her talent belonged to her, not to anyone else. "Your gift was never his to control," Claire said one night, sitting beside Emma in her room. "It's yours, and no one can take it away." Those words stayed with Emma, but healing felt slow. The bond she had cherished with her father now carried an unspoken tension, a sense of caution she had never felt before. Despite her hurt, Emma still loved to draw, and after days of staring at blank pages, she tentatively picked up her pencil again. This time, she drew not for anyone else, not for Daniel, not for approval, but for herself. Each line, each shade, became a small rebellion, a reclamation of her passion and identity. As she worked, she felt a flicker of freedom, a tiny spark that reminded her why she had loved drawing in the first place. Daniel tried to intervene, offering suggestions, but Emma shook her head gently. "No. I need to do this myself," she said firmly. The defiance surprised him, but she felt a strange strength in asserting her independence. Over the next few weeks, she poured herself into her work, exploring styles and ideas Daniel had never suggested. She felt alive in a way that she hadn't in months, a quiet thrill in reclaiming what had been nearly taken from her. Then came the first moment of real confidence. Emma completed a piece that captured a memory she had never shared with anyone. It was personal, full of emotions she had kept hidden. She signed it with her own name and placed it on her desk, feeling a sense of pride that had nothing to do with anyone else's approval. Daniel saw it and paused, realizing that the control he had tried to maintain was slipping. That night, he said nothing, and Emma felt a strange mix of relief and tension. She knew their relationship had changed, the trust she once had shaken. And yet, in that change, she also discovered something new. Her talent, her gift, was hers alone, and with that realization came a quiet strength, a growing determination to protect it and share it on her own terms. But even as she embraced her independence, a soft unease lingered, a question that hovered in the back of her mind: how much of her father's influence had shaped her, and how much had been truly her own? For now, Emma focused on drawing, on reclaiming her passion, knowing that the journey ahead would not be simple, but also knowing that her talent was finally, truly hers. And in that moment, she understood that betrayal could hurt, but it could also teach, forcing her to grow stronger, more aware, and more confident in the one thing that belonged only to her: her voice, her vision, her art. The house felt quiet in a way that made Emma notice everything. Even small sounds seemed louder. Every creak of the floor, every rustle of paper reminded her of the tension that had settled between her and her father. Daniel tried to speak, tried to explain, but Emma barely looked at him. She had spent days thinking, struggling with a storm of emotions: betrayal, hurt, anger, confusion, and even a little sadness for the father she thought she knew. Claire remained her anchor, quietly supporting her, reminding her that what mattered most was reclaiming her own voice, her own talent. She clutched her sketchbook every evening, slowly reopening it, letting her pencil glide across the pages, feeling the familiar thrill return, but this time without anyone directing her. Each new sketch felt like a small victory, every stroke of her pencil a statement that she alone was in control. Emma drew memories, dreams, even fears, letting them pour onto the paper, releasing emotions she hadn't realized were trapped inside her. The joy returned gradually, first as a flicker, then as a steady light, a quiet power she hadn't felt before. She began to explore styles she had never tried, mixing colors and textures, adding bold lines and soft shadows, creating pieces that were entirely her own. Her confidence grew with every drawing, and with it came a new sense of freedom. She realized that art wasn't about approval or control, it was about honesty, expression, and truth. One afternoon, Emma decided it was time to share a piece she had created completely for herself, a painting of a quiet summer afternoon, sunlight spilling across a field, children laughing, a memory she had kept in her heart. She posted it online under her own name, with no guidance, no intervention. No one could take the credit this time, and for the first time, she felt the full thrill of sharing her gift freely. The response was immediate. Messages of admiration, surprise, and support flooded in. Emma felt a warmth in her chest, realizing that the world could appreciate her talent without needing someone to control or manipulate it. Daniel noticed the change too. He watched quietly as Emma flourished on her own, her confidence no longer dependent on him. For a moment, he seemed proud, but then something flickered in his expression, a mix of regret and understanding. He realized that by trying to protect her, he had almost lost her trust, almost taken the magic away from her. He approached her one evening, hesitant, careful. "Emma, I see now," he said softly. "I understand that your talent is yours. I should have never controlled it." She listened, feeling a mixture of relief and lingering tension. "It's okay," she replied, "I just needed to find my own way." The following weeks became a period of quiet healing. Emma and Daniel found a new rhythm. He no longer directed her, no longer hovered, but simply observed, offering encouragement only when asked. Emma felt the weight of betrayal slowly lift, replaced by cautious trust. She realized that relationships could recover if both people were willing to reflect and grow. Her mother, Claire, continued to watch proudly, knowing her daughter had faced a difficult challenge and emerged stronger. Emma's confidence inspired her to try bigger projects, more ambitious sketches, and even her first small gallery submission. She no longer feared judgment, because she knew her voice was authentic. One day, Emma received an invitation to showcase her work at a local exhibition, something she had never dared to imagine. Her heart raced as she prepared, choosing the pieces that meant the most to her, each one telling a story, a memory, or a dream. Daniel helped quietly, only by providing materials or helping frame pieces, but he never interfered, never tried to take control. On the night of the exhibition, Emma walked into the gallery, eyes wide, heart pounding, seeing her own art displayed proudly on the walls. People admired it, asked questions, and complimented her, but this time, every word belonged to her. She felt alive, free, and proud. Standing beside her mother and father, she realized something important. Betrayal had hurt, yes, but it had also taught her a lesson she would carry forever, the lesson that talent, passion, and creativity could never truly be stolen if she held them close to her heart. Emma had learned that trust could be rebuilt, but only when respect was present. Daniel looked at her with pride, his eyes sincere this time, no hidden agenda. "I'm sorry for taking control," he said quietly. "I will never do it again." Emma nodded, feeling a weight lift, knowing that forgiveness didn't erase the past, but it allowed her to move forward. After the exhibition, Emma began to take on personal projects, experimenting boldly, pushing her boundaries, drawing inspiration from her own life instead of anyone else's expectations. She discovered a voice that was uniquely hers, and with each new piece, she grew stronger, more confident, more certain that her gift belonged only to her. And yet, she never forgot the lessons of betrayal, the pain that had once threatened to silence her. She remembered the fear of losing her own identity, and it made her cherish her independence all the more. Emma knew that the world could be unpredictable, and sometimes those closest to us could let us down, but she also knew she had the strength to rise above it. Weeks turned into months, and Emma's work began attracting more attention, small commissions, social media recognition, even invitations to art classes to mentor others. Her talent was finally recognized, but on her own terms, never hidden, never controlled. Every time she picked up a pencil, she felt the thrill of freedom, of ownership, and the quiet satisfaction that no one could ever take that from her again. Daniel, watching from the sidelines, smiled softly, proud but humble, finally understanding that true support meant letting her shine without interference. In the quiet of her room one evening, Emma opened her sketchbook and smiled, seeing the progress, the bold lines, the colors that seemed to leap off the page. She felt a sense of completion, not because she had achieved perfection, but because she had reclaimed herself, her talent, and her voice, she had survived betrayal, learned to trust herself again, and discovered a strength she hadn't known existed. As she sketched into the night, the world outside faded, leaving only her art, and the quiet triumph of independence. She realized that her journey had changed her forever, not by taking away her gift, but by showing her how fiercely she could protect it. Emma finally understood that betrayal didn't have to destroy her, it could teach her, strengthen her, and guide her toward her true self. She closed her sketchbook, satisfied, knowing that tomorrow, and every day after, she would draw not for anyone else, not for approval, not for control, but for herself, her passion alive and untouchable. Her talent was hers, fully, freely, and finally, she could embrace the gift and the freedom it gave her, forever.